What if saving someone's life meant breaking their heart? This question haunted Ayanna Mitchell like a shadow, trailing her from dusty bases in Kandahar to the sharp winds of Minneapolis, from whispered night shifts to sirens slicing through cold afternoons. Today, standing before the towering black wrought iron gates of the Davenport estate, the question returned with full force. I've saved hundreds of lives, she remembered, but I couldn't save my own father. The marble foyer of the Davenport mansion echoed with silence. Blood dotted the pristine floor like crimson punctuation. A platinum medical bracelet read, Stephen Davenport, blood type A+. Surrounding it, half-empty bottles of Ambien, Xanax, and beta-blockers hinted at battles waged in silence. Outside, a February wind pushed against the paramedic sirens like a stubborn ghost. Ayanna's hands moved with reflexive certainty, fingers lacing together and pressing down on the sternum. 1, 2, 3. CPR, perfected in war zones, now performed on polished stone beneath chandelier light. Do you want to live, Mr. Davenport? Her voice, calm but commanding, sliced through the panic. Or are you just waiting to die? The question would haunt the mansion for days. In his semi-conscious state, Stephen didn't hear it as judgment. It sounded more like permission to keep going. Paramedics were still 2 minutes away. The Davenport estate was a monument to sorrow. Victorian in design, 3 stories tall, with every window veiled in heavy drapery that kept the Sanunhapi at bay. Stone gargoyles wept icicles. Dust settled across untouched chandeliers. Even time seemed suspended. The grandfather clock in the hall had stopped at 4:03. When Ayanna knocked, it was answered by Lucian Hyde, the Davenport family's butler of 31 years. Trim, silver-haired, and upright as a soldier, he opened the door with reluctant precision. "May I help you?" he said, as though the idea of help was offensive. Ayanna Mitchell, Twin Cities Care Services, she said, holding up her ID with steady confidence. "I'm here for Mr. Davenport's 7 a.m. intake evaluation. Mr. Davenport does not receive visitors before noon," Lucian replied, his British vowels polished to razor sharpness. "I'm not a visitor," she said, stepping past him with quiet momentum. "I'm his new caregiver unless you'd prefer to explain to his son why you let the 18th nurse walk out." That number landed like a slap. Lucian blinked, but said nothing. Inside, the mansion exhaled disuse. Antique rugs swallowed sound. Crystal chandeliers hung like forgotten stars. Every surface held a story that no one was listening to anymore. The living room had a chessboard frozen mid-game, the pieces collecting dust as though the match had ended mid-thought. Stephen Davenport sat in the study, slouched in an armchair like a man who'd fallen through time. At 46, he looked well over 60. His robe hung off his shoulders like a burden. His hair, once a dark brown halo in company photos, was now streaked with neglect. When Ayanna entered, he barely looked up. "Mr. Davenport," she announced, as she would in triage. "I'm Ayanna Mitchell, from the agency." He offered no greeting. 17 caregivers before me," she said. "They said you were cruel, uncommunicative, hostile. But I don't think you're cruel. I think you're terrified." The words struck like detonations. Stephen's hands clenched the armrests. Lucian lingered in the doorway, stunned into stillness. "You're not afraid of dying. You're afraid of what comes after surviving. Of waking up alone every morning. Of not having anyone to blame but yourself for outliving the person you built your world around." She moved closer, scared of healing, because healing means remembering. Scared of remembering, because remembering hurts. But you're still here, which means, whether you like it or not, you chose life. I'm here to help you live it. Lucian turned and walked away, as though something sacred had been said. She unpacked her kit, took his vitals. Blood pressure, 172/110. Stage 2 hypertension. His chart was chaos. Pills without schedule, meals skipped, medical appointments missed. His emotional chart was worse. Wife dead, estranged from family, withdrawn from company affairs, and 4 suicide attempts in under a year. "I was military," Ayanna said, rolling up her sleeves. Army Medical Corps. 2 tours in Afghanistan. 2 more with Doctors Without Borders. Saving lives isn't clean. It's messy, improvised, and sometimes unfair. You learn to work with what you've got. A tampon for a bullet wound. A t-shirt for a tourniquet. A lie to buy someone one more breath. Stephen's eyes flicked up for the first time. My mother was a nurse too. Vietnam War. Mary Louise Mitchell. She taught me the Hippocratic Oath before I learned my multiplication tables. Taught me that broken bones don't discriminate. Neither do broken hearts. She took out a journal and opened it to a page marked with a press flower. Corporal Devin Langston. Lost both legs and helmet. Wanted to dance at his daughter's first birthday. We trained every day. He did it. He called it his miracle dance. I carry this flower from that day to remind me, survival is a decision. Stephen leaned forward, his interest involuntary. But my biggest failure, she said, lifting a photograph from her wallet. My dad, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I was on a mission in Haiti when the Red Cross notified me. By the time I flew back, he was gone. Last thing he said to the nurse, tell my girl I'm proud. She paused. No tears. Just a battlefield stillness. That's why I don't do pity. That's why I don't let people waste their survival. Stephen sat in silence, the words clawing at the ice around his heart. The next day began with real breakfast. Not cereal eaten in shadows, but eggs and turkey bacon in the sunlit conservatory. Lucian set the table wordlessly, but for the first time in 3 years, the coffee pot was full. Each day, Ayanna pushed a little further. Clean shirt. Walk to the garden. Sit on the porch, and not just in the study. She adjusted his meds. Reduced his reliance on benzodiazepines. Taught him how to breathe again. In time, Stephen talked. About Caroline, his wife. About the vineyard in Napa, where she once wore a sunflower dress. About her laugh. Her ability to find beauty in disaster. She was planning a surprise. Ayanna revealed one morning. Your son found a file on her laptop. A party for your company's IPO. She had the guest list. The venue. Even booked the jazz band. Stephen's hand trembled. She was planning your joy, Ayanna said softly, while you were planning your escape. That evening, Stephen opened the drapes in the study. Weeks passed. Then months. The mansion changed, subtly at first. Flowers bloomed where dust had ruled. The grandfather clock, serviced quietly by Lucian, began ticking again. One day, Ayanna handed Stephen 2 airline tickets. Florence, she said. Caroline wanted to go. You two never made it. His eyes welled. I'm not asking as your caregiver. I'm inviting you as someone who's walked with you from death to life. A companion. Nothing more. Stephen nodded, unsure of what Florence meant any more grief, memory, or maybe something entirely new. But when he returned, he came back with a photograph. Himself on a Tuscan hillside, smiling beneath sunflowers. And he brought back something else. A proposal for a wellness center, a place for others lost in their grief to begin again. Ayanna agreed to help. Not out of duty, but because she believed in rebuilding from the ashes. Together, they created the Davenport Renewal Center, offering therapy, gardening, art, and storytelling. Veterans, widowers, women recovering from trauma found space there. They never defined their relationship. They didn't need to. They simply kept showing up for each other. Every Tuesday, every sunrise, every breath. And in that rhythm, they built something that mattered. Because sometimes, saving a life doesn't mean bringing someone back from the dead. It means showing them how to live again.